Absalom, beauty, rebellion, and tragedy. Among the most dramatic figures in the Bible, Absalom stands out as a striking example of physical beauty, magnetic personality, intense ambition, and a sorrowful end. As a son of King David, his life was shaped by family love, a thirst for justice, rebellion against his own father, and a deeply tragic conclusion. His story, primarily found in 2 Samuel chapters 13 through 18, serves as a compelling narrative about the boundaries of forgiveness, the fallout of sin, and the struggles of leadership. Family and background. Absalom was the third son of King David, born to Maasach, daughter of King Talmai of Geshur. From a young age, his striking appearance set him apart. Scripture says, "In all Israel, there was no one so praised for his looks as Absalom, and from the sole of his foot to the top of his head, there was no blemish in him." 2 Samuel 14:25. Besides his good looks, he had an engaging charm that drew people's admiration and trust. He had a sister named Tamar, and a half-brother named Amnon, David's eldest son. A devastating family incident involving these siblings would forever change the path of Absalom's life. Tamar's tragedy. Absalom's narrative darkens with the heartbreaking story of his sister Tamar. Amnon, her half-brother, became infatuated with her and, consumed by desire, pretended to be ill in order to lure her to his side. Once alone with her, Amnon violated Tamar. 2 Samuel 13:1-14. After the assault, he rejected her cruelly and cast her out. This injustice deeply wounded Absalom. He took Tamar into his house and said nothing at first, silently waiting for justice. Though David was furious about the matter, he failed to discipline Amnon. This inaction from David became a turning point in Absalom's decision-making. Revenge and exile. 2 years after Tamar's assault, Absalom acted on his vengeance. He hosted a banquet for the king's sons, and during the feast, he commanded his servants to kill Amnon. The death of David's firstborn shook the royal court and the entire kingdom. After the murder, Absalom fled to Geshur, the land of his maternal grandfather, where he stayed for 3 years. 2 Samuel 13:23-38. During that time, David longed for his son, but took no steps to reconcile with him. Joab, David's military commander, sensing the king's longing, devised a plan to change David's mind. Through a wise woman from Tekoa, Joab presented a fictional story that moved David's heart. David agreed to let Absalom return to Jerusalem, but initially refused to see him. Return and rebellion. Though Absalom returned to Jerusalem, he was ignored for 2 full years. Growing impatient and feeling cast aside, he called on Joab to intervene on his behalf. When Joab didn't respond, Absalom burned down Joab's barley field to get his attention. Eventually, David granted Absalom an audience and kissed him, symbolizing reconciliation. 2 Samuel 14:28-33. But this reunion was only superficial. Absalom, still bitter and ambitious, began to win over the people's trust. He stood at the city gates, intercepting those seeking justice and claiming that he would rule more fairly if he were judge. In this way, he stole the hearts of the men of Israel. 2 Samuel 15:6. After 4 years of subtly building support, Absalom made his move. Under the guise of a religious vow, he went to Hebron and declared himself king, launching a full-scale revolt against his father. David's escape. News of Absalom's uprising created chaos in Jerusalem. David, realizing the strength of the rebellion, fled the city to avoid direct conflict and safeguard his followers. He left Jerusalem in tears, walking barefoot as a sign of grief and humility. 2 Samuel 15:30. Faithful allies accompanied him, including Ittai the Gittite, priests Zadok and Abiathar, and the Levites carrying the ark. Still, David ordered the ark to be returned to the city and submitted himself to God's will. If it was God's plan, he would return to Jerusalem. If not, he was ready to accept his fate. In an act of defiance, and advised by Ahithophel, Absalom slept with his father's concubines in public view, fulfilling Nathan's prophecy after David's sin with Bathsheba. 2 Samuel 12:11. Civil war and David's tactics. With Absalom ruling in Jerusalem and David taking refuge in Mahanaim, the kingdom was thrown into a civil conflict. The people were divided, some loyal to David, others swayed by Absalom's charm and rebellion. This wasn't just a battle for power, it was a painful family war. David organized his forces under commanders Joab, Abishai, and Ittai. Despite fighting his own son, David showed military wisdom and composure. Before the battle began, he gave an emotional order: "Be gentle with the young man Absalom, for my sake." 2 Samuel 18-5. This reveals David's torn heart. He desired victory, but not his son's death. The battle and Absalom's death. The final clash happened in the forest of Ephraim, a rugged and wooded area perfect for ambushes. Absalom rode a mule, a symbol of nobility and rank. During the retreat, his hair or cloak got caught in the branches of a large tree, leaving him suspended mid-air, helpless. 2 Samuel 18-9. When Joab saw him, he didn't hesitate. He pierced Absalom with 3 spears, and his soldiers finished the job. Though necessary to restore order, Absalom's death was a devastating blow to David. David's grief. When David heard the news, he was overwhelmed with sorrow. He wept bitterly and cried out, "Oh, my son, Absalom! My son, Absalom! If only I had died instead of you." 2 Samuel 18:33. This lament shows the depth of fatherly love. Even betrayal could not erase David's affection. Joab rebuked the king, urging him to return to his duties, warning that his excessive mourning could undermine his authority. Yet David needed time to mourn properly and process his pain. The legacy and lessons of Absalom. Absalom's story provides important insights into human nature, the danger of unchecked ambition, and the effects of neglect in family discipline and justice. First, it shows what happens when wrongdoing goes unpunished. Tamar's suffering and David's failure to act led to cycles of vengeance and destruction. Absalom, in avenging his sister, ended up becoming a source of disorder himself. Also, his rise reveals the perils of chasing power at any price. His appearance and charm weren't enough to secure peace. His revolt brought national and personal ruin. Ultimately, this story speaks to the power of love and forgiveness. Despite all that happened, David's mourning reminds us that genuine love runs deeper than betrayal. Final thoughts. Absalom remains one of the most human and tragic figures in the Bible. His life portrays the tension between justice, family, power, and love. Scripture doesn't glorify or demonize him. It presents his journey honestly, allowing us to draw our own lessons. In modern times, his life urges reflection on our relationships, the role of justice, and the consequences of ambition without boundaries. If you were moved by this powerful account, share this video with someone who needs to hear Absalom's story. Turn on the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and hit the like button. We'll see you in the next video with more inspiring stories like this one.